They're involved in some local projects. But before we kick off on this, and you can all answer at once, are you all scuba divers?
Yes.
Yeah.
All? And
Hang on, seriously?
And snorkels.
And snorkelers.
but you all have your scuba ticket. You've all trained scuba divers.
I'm not certified yet.
Okay, but you've been scuba diving.
Yes.
Okay, and
Very cool. Can I ask, am I allowed to ask?
you can.
How old are you guys?
The group's like 10 to 18. I think we're all about 13, 14, 15.
10. So is that you, Dylan?
I'm 11.
Dylan's
Dylan's
11.
11.
Wow. Okay.
Just to let the listeners know, we've got
That's
the
brilliant.
Yeah.
Good on you.
So amongst you, do you know who's done the most dives?
Riley.
Riley.
Riley isn't here today, but
Because Riley's diving.
no,
Is that why?
she's in Dubai. Yeah.
Oh! As you do.
Riley just did her 100th dives. 100th dive not too long ago.
And how old's Riley?
Only 14.
Wow.
That's
Alright.
sensational. I reckon it took me till I was about 20. That's fantastic.
It took me about 4 years
Yeah,
to do
exactly.
100 times.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. I guess I'll pick one of you. So Lola, do other members of your family dive?
No, my dad would really like to dive, but I'm the only one in my family that has started diving.
So Millie, are you the same?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like the only, my family all loves the ocean, but I'm the only one who dives.
Okay, does anyone here have family members that dive?
Yeah, my dad dives, and he's been diving since he was like 20 or something, so he really got me into diving.
Okay, so there is, and Dylan's the same, he has family that dive, but most of you have just decided, okay, I'm going to throw to Kate. Why did you decide to go scuba diving? Like, how did this come about?
School excursion I went on. So I went on a school excursion that was like discover scuba diving, and then the person taking me on the excursion, I was like, this is so fun, and they were like, well, you should do it. And I was like, okay. And so I sort of kept in touch with Diveline, and then saw that they had the marine program, and so it's like, I'm not certified, but do you reckon I could ever go? And they let me, so it was so much fun.
Can I ask you, Kate, or anyone the other near a microphone, what was it about diving that you loved when you first did it? Like, what was the thing that, go on, come to the mic.
I think just the experience of being in a whole different world, and I felt like I was a part of something that it wasn't just revolving around people, it was revolving around all the other creatures in the environment that we were in.
Wow. What about the rest of you?
I think, I haven't really dived much yet, but I definitely love snorkeling, and I think just being able to be so close to the animals, it's like you're sort of part of them.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I think it's really special.
Yeah, I agree, and I've loved like the environment and the ocean since I was little, and I've always wanted to start diving. So when my dad said, oh, you should come diving with me, I just thought, yeah.
Alright, I've got a question that kind of follows on from that, Greg.
Can I just, I've been trying to get my kids to dive for ages, and they're just like, nah, whatever.
Well,
They snorkel loads, but for some reason they don't want to go. I don't know why.
That is my question. If there are people listening at home and they're going, you know what, I want to go scuba diving, what would you tell them? Like, what are the things that I guess they get out of it? What's the thing that you're like, if you've been thinking about it, here's why you should go and do it. Lola's got an answer for it. Why should people do it?
I think that it can be a bit daunting to go from like the surface to going underwater, but when you're under there, it's a completely different feeling, and it's indescribable. It's one of the most accessible extreme sports, and it is something you cannot compare to anything else you do.
I love the way. So
That
when
phrase
you
is
describe
fantastic.
that, I mean, the accessible
Yes.
experience was beautiful. But when you describe that, there's I had that feeling. There's when if you're snorkeling and then you go under, or you're diving and you go under, there's a peacefulness. It's like everyone's nodding. You can say yes. There's a peacefulness. It's like calm. It's like you're just immersed into something new. That's what it is for me. Is that what it is for you guys?
Yeah. Feel like a fish.
Hopefully not. Hopefully you feel like a mammal in the water, but not. Yeah, that's fine.
You feel part of the fish community.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
And you drown out a lot of, like car noise or just any other distractions from life when you're just underwater and you just get to just be with them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I always say it's the one place you don't have phone reception.
Yeah.
You really just leave your phone behind
Or
and
a
you're
phone
away.
at all.
Alright, now I wanted to get stuck into the Diveline Marine Youth Group and have a bit of a chat about that. Now, we mentioned earlier it's through the Diveline store. science background and training, but one of the things that I actually found quite fascinating, you're not all from the same schools, are you?
No.
So how many of you knew each other before this even kicked off?
I didn't. I had
No
no idea.
one.
anything.
I mean, I knew Yana because we go to the same school, but
But otherwise you're all just sort of turned up independently.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
It takes a big step just to do that. Like a lot of people suffer from social anxiety, so turning up to a group like that must have been, it was a bit nerve-wracking.
Well, you can't talk underwater.
I love it. Actually, maybe that's part of the attraction
Yeah.
too. It's like, oh, for goodness sake, everyone just stop talking.
And Lola?
I remember turning up on the first day, and I'd never even put a wetsuit on before, and everyone was like getting into all their wetsuits, and my mum dropped me off, and I'm just like, oh, someone want to show me what wetsuit's gonna fit me? And then once you like get immersed with not only all the marine life but the people that have been doing this for so long, you just feel really connected to them.
That's amazing. And my head just disappeared. I had a perfect question for it, but it's gone. That's what I wanted to ask. So this is school holidays. So you guys, everyone goes to school. You're doing your school work. You're learning while you're there. Now Paul's running this and even has education in the title, and you still turn up to do it outside of school. Why? What do you get out of doing it that you don't get from school, Millie?
Yeah, I get asked that question by a lot of my friends because they're not very oceany, I guess, like me. They always ask, like, why are you wanting to do more school after school, more or less, like on the holidays? And I just say it's like a whole nother world. It's like, it's very special, and you just get to immerse with the fish and learn about it. It's amazing.
They don't teach much marine conservation in schools either. Like, it's a lot of, I reckon biology is the closest you'd get, but even so, it's not much of a focus on the ocean. It's more plants and animals. But I think being able to find something you're passionate with and like learn about it is so cool, because it's not really offered for us to learn about it anywhere else.
That's cool. It doesn't feel like school at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also at school, a lot of the time the people aren't really interested in what they're learning, but when you go to something like this, everyone wants to learn, so you actually get a lot more out of it.
Yes. Lola?
It's not just finding out people aren't interested in school. Like, where did this come from?
I feel like the main attraction for me is that we get to be in an environment where people are just so attuned to it. I go to school and I'm not learning things that are really specialised for me, and people don't want to be there. But when you go to these programs, people are so attuned to wanting to do this and are getting that same feel for it that you just feel really connected to them.
That is so interesting. Can I ask you guys what, like, sorry, I'm jumping in here.
Please do.
Because if you're talking about the way you're learning stuff, right? What was the thing that you learnt that you thought, I didn't know that, and I'm really glad I know that now about the marine environment? I'm not putting on the spot a bit, huh?
No, I prepped him for this.
There's so much. Like, there's not necessarily one that's like the major, oh my gosh, I learned that there's litter in the ocean, I love it now. Like, it's
Or not.
it's
Yeah.
everything that you learn is so eye-opening, and in good and bad ways, but it's not really one pinpoint moment where you're like, wow, that's why I want to scuba dive. It's more, every time you scuba dive, you learn something completely different that's so useful in ways you wouldn't think is useful. Lola?
I think the first time you scuba dive, you'll always remember the first breath you take underwater. I don't know if that's the same for everybody else, but I remember the first time I was breathing underwater, and I think that when you're under there, you learn so much, and then even being part of this community, you constantly are just opening your eyes to all these new issues and things that we have to evaluate.
And I mentioned at the start, it's not just going for a dive. You're actually doing some projects while you're there. Can anyone tell me some of the projects you get up to? Like, what do you do when you're diving?
Well, on the marine education program on the holiday, we do a lot of, for example, we did the invasive species cleanup, where we cleaned the northern Pacific sea stars because they're invasive, and we got 2,531 of them.
Wow. And whereabouts did you go for that?
Well, that one in particular was at Frankston Pier.
Nice. Now, Yana, are there any other things that you do? No? Talking to the microphone. No, that's good.
Hey, we've had
Sorry.
a couple of people texting in, just listening with a few thoughts.
Yeah.
Someone has said that once you tell your brain it's okay to take a breath underwater, it's like flying with fish. Which I think that's
Exactly.
really lovely.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. And also, here's one. I noticed that you guys don't have glasses, but it's a really good question. Maybe you have contacts. I do have glasses. So do you. And this is one that we definitely can answer. Someone's asked, any tips for people who can't see without glasses who'd like to scuba dive? I can't see very far, and yet underwater I can see better.
And you can also get prescription lenses.
You can too.
Yes.
You
I was
can
gonna
do that
say,
upfront.
surely there's goggles or something
There are,
that
yes.
could,
Yeah.
like, you could
Yeah.
put glasses in,
Yeah.
like, goggles.
There is
Yeah.
there is
Yeah,
no
you can get
excuse.
prescription masks.
And also, because of the physics of water, the way light moves, it actually refracts differently, and so I see better underwater than I do on land. I
So
have better vision.
You have
underwater.
superpowers underwater.
I
If
do.
you go diving, you
Super
end up with
visual
superpowers.
So you've really got to dive.
So there you go, listeners. Thank you for those little texts.
And so Anne sort of touched on it before, but what are some of the things that you see when you're out diving and some of the issues? And I guess because you're starting to work into this ambassador space and trying to clean. So what are the things that sort of are getting, I was going to say annoying you, but what do you see? You're like, come on, surely we can do better than this. Nelly?
I think one of the main issues has to be the litter in the ocean and how much
Yeah.
there is and how it affects all the animals.
And so where are you seeing the litter and what are the effects you're seeing?
Well, every time we go diving, like for example, on the holidays, Lola found a skateboard and like a phone underwater, and we find so many squid jigs from the fishermen, and they just leave them in the water.
Yeah, go
I
Lola.
think that we're always told, oh yes, there's a lot of litter in the ocean, but then when we start diving, we actually start seeing all of like the fish in there and stuff that is actually just dumped off the pier. You go like, how can we like fix this? How can we be more careful of not just discarding all of our fishing gear and stuff?
Yeah, because I think the fishermen, they're on top of the water. They don't really see the impacts that they're having until you actually go underneath the water.
Okay.
I think a lot of the litter comes from the piers and the beaches where people don't necessarily think that, oh, I dropped my chip wrapper, oh no, and then it goes into the ocean. Then everyone drops their chip wrapper, then you don't realise, because you can't see obviously the bottom of the ocean most of the time, but there is so much down there when you're diving off, and it's quite funny. Like I've seen trolleys and like, as you said, skateboards, and it's ridiculous. Like you find like e-bikes and scooters down there.
Yeah.
How they get off the pier, I'm not quite sure, but it's just the litter that comes off the piers from people not thinking really. Like you've just got to think things through and go, that's probably not a good idea to throw a scooter off the pier because you don't know how many things are going to be affected by it.
And I imagine when people see you doing the marine debris and you've probably got that in the beach, do you have people coming up and having conversations with you and saying like, what's going on, what can we do? Okay, Lola, you've got to do something up already.
So, when we were collecting Northern Pacific sea stars, it was my first day of learning how to dive, and I came out of the water with only one sea star because I was learning how to swim. Give me a break, okay?
Yeah.
I wasn't really contributing to the collecting. And I walk out, and someone walked past and said, "I hope you're going to put that back in the water." And so then we took the time to explain to them how it's an invasive species and how we actually need to remove them.
And how do they respond?
Some people will like go, oh, okay, and they'll like maybe go home and research it, while others will just not want to be told that maybe they're wrong, or they will deny that that is what's happening.
Yeah, and also, well, one of my friends, we went on a school thing and we also collected the Northern Pacific sea stars, but when she told her mum was like, I still think we should leave them in the water, just because they're like animals. Some people think they can't be doing that much wrong, we shouldn't be killing them.
Isn't that interesting? That kind of, and do you think that you clearly are taking on that role of helping people understand, no, these don't belong here. They're going to cause more damage if we don't take them out. Huh.
Lola?
I think that being like a massive animal lover like I am, when I'm taking, like when I was thought of, oh, I'm gonna take them out, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. It's gonna pull at my heart. But then taking them out and realizing, hey, I love animals and this is why I'm doing it, because I know that it's destroying the biodiversity.
Melody.
Yeah, I think another like great thing about the marine education program is it sort of like educates members of the public along the way of like what's going on, because you really can't see what's going on under the surface until you're down there.
Now, we've got to wrap this up, but if
We
there's
could
people,
talk for hours.
I know, but if there's people listening, and particularly if there's younger kids and stuff at home going, this sounds awesome, how do I get involved, how do I meet these legends that we've got in the studio, how does that happen? Can anyone tell us when you guys are going to meet up next? What's happening? I think we've got
Well,
this.
every holiday Diveline runs the marine education program. So just by getting involved you can learn to scuba dive and everything.
Beautiful.
Diveline Scuba Centre in Frankston.
Oh, well
Welcome
done,
aboard.
Kate. You got that. Thank you all so much for coming into the studio. As mentioned, we could get you on for hours, and we didn't even touch on the fact that you're putting together a video for National Geographic entry for a competition they're running, and someone's writing a book, and there's all sorts of other stuff. So we're going to have to get you guys back in at a later date to continue this conversation and to inspire more people to get involved.
Totally.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And Diveline Frankston was the store. Paul will be very happy for that. And it's a marine youth program run over the school holidays.
We would love to come meet you, so hopefully you can come along and learn something new.
We'll see you in September.
Well, signing off as well.